at Manage Comics. Coming to you from a secret underground lair, these dedicated heroes discuss the business of comics, industry news, comic book retail issues, and the latest developments from Manage Comics. They are promoters of comics, champions of small business, and four-color heroes. They are the Manage Comics team. Welcome. It is another Meanwhile at Manage Comics. We haven't done one of these in a couple weeks. And this one is going to really be all about Shopify. So Shopify just launched, what is it called? Editions Summer 25. So there's a ton of things we need to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about Manage Comics and kind of what's coming next. We're going to talk about one of our partnerships that we're working on right now. We're going to actually meet one of our partners. We're going to dedicate an entire episode to that partnership coming up on June 19th. So we just kind of finalized that today. We're also going to meet a very special guest star, but I'm going to get right to things. And if you're here in the chat, pop in and say hi. I see Christina Strong from Stronghold Collectibles. Thanks. We'll hear some Managed Comics news for sure. Anna, I've got an email that I've been working on for you. I was actually talking to Lightspeed on your behalf, so I will send that email. James, welcome. Let us know what shop you're with, and we can definitely answer some questions. And immediately after this, we're going to have a webinar. So if you go to managecomics.com/webinar right now, you can book yourself into that webinar, and we'll talk kind of more loosely, and you can ask questions, and I can show you stuff and all that stuff. SortSwift. I don't want to tease too much. Christina Strong, we've been using Managed Comics for over a year, and it's definitely helped save us time and kept us more organized, and we hope to do even more. And Owen, excited for Multistar. It's so close. We will talk about the partnership a little bit later. Look, it's our own Craig. Hi, Craig. How you doing? Android's Amazing Comics. Awesome. Manager there, handling pulls and inventory. Awesome. And it is Comics, Games, and Coffee Limited in the UK. Awesome. All right. Let's dive right into the good stuff. So we're going to talk today about Shopify's Summer 2025, Horizon, multi-location, new partners, and more. It's funny because I had like 5 different technical challenges just before we started here. And one of them was that my slide deck was too big. One of them was that I couldn't share any video at all on this computer, so I had to reboot my computer. And one of them was that my right shark wasn't working. I had left shark, but not right shark. So I had to reboot like multiple systems to get this going. All right, let's get to our Shopify stuff. So today we're going to talk the Shopify 2025 release, Horizon theme. We're going to really dive deep into it. And I'm going to actually do some demos and show kind of how it works a little bit more. And we're also going to take another look at Multistore. I'm going to dedicate time next week to a full dive in Multistore. I wanted to do it today, but I'm having some serious problems connecting to QA. And nobody else is. So I was seeing these dreaded red things that said that I couldn't access it and it was dangerous and everything. And then I was just like, I'm going to just not do this for now. So, but let's get started with all of the Shopify things. So twice a year, Shopify does a major release. It causes us no end of problems. It's amazing that the platform evolves as quickly as it does and as often as it does, but sometimes it really causes problems. And right now I'm actually facing one of those problems with my own store. And I think last night at 3 a.m., I finally figured out exactly what it is. So Taras and I are going to jump on a call after this and get to that. Good times. They changed their plan names. So they used to have like weird names like Shopify Basic and Medium and Big. Now it's basic, grow, advanced, and plus. So $29.99 a month, $79.99 a month, $399 a month, and $2,000 a month. Basic and grow are kind of smaller plans. They like basic gives you one account. Grow gives you, I think, five. Advanced, I think it's 10. And then plus is like their enterprise thing. So most of us will never even think about plus. They say that like you need to be earning, I think it's like $1 million a month for it to make sense to go to plus. So yeah, but it's their plans make kind of more sense now, and I think those prices are on a 1-year plans too. So they're going to be a little more if you're doing month to month. What's in this edition? There's 150 updates. There's a new theme, which is the first time since 2021 when Dawn was launched. This one's called Horizon. They're going all in on Sidekick, which is their AI, and we'll talk a little bit about how hilarious that was uh, when when we actually saw Sidekick in action at the dev conference. They redesigned a bunch of stuff on the POS, and that caused us a bunch of problems. And we're going to talk about what we're going to do to improve those. Whole bunch of checkout improvements online, and we can see those in action right now. And a lot of them are really, really impressive. Improved segment query language. So when you need to like look for specific things, they've really improved that language. And I think I need to do a deep dive on just how powerful this is and how to structure these, but I'll do those later. Shop app improvements, I'm going to ignore that. A bunch of shipping improvements, and then massive updates for developers, including like totally revamped stuff around flow and an actual dev environment where we can do local dev, which we haven't been able to do up until now. Why would one need multiple Shopify plans? A lot of stores up until now that have multiple locations have had to have multiple Shopify plans because we didn't have multi-location integration. We'll have that in a couple weeks. The other thing is that Shopify has a 10 store limit on anything under, I think it's anything under plus. So you can only have 10 locations. So big chains actually have to have either plus or multiple stores, but great question. Okay, so Horizon, I'm just going to really quickly go over this thing. It's clean, it's easily updated. It's already been refreshed twice, which is why when they release a new theme, we don't generally suggest that you download it immediately. The first probably month is going to be big changes. So it's really good. It's quite stable. But yeah, there's already been 2 changes. So sometimes that requires you to like rebuild your theme, which like moving from Dawn to Horizon, you will have to rebuild all your like about us pages and things like that. It's a bit of a pain, but it's worth it. And I'll show you why later. Super flexible. There's 14 sub themes, and including one of them that's meant for large catalogs, which is really what comic stores specialize in. Ask it to do the report for you. And you can even ask it to build elements in a theme, and I'll show you that with Horizon. Or you can ask it to help you out with some coding tasks. So if you want to do something very specific, you can say, "Hey, how do I X?" and it will do that. I think I'll probably at some point do a full demo on Sidekick, but it's still a little buggy, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that with the dev stuff. Am I still muted? Am I muted right now? I'm good? Okay. That's weird. You muted for a minute. Huh. Wonder if I hit something weird. We're back. It's okay, Brian. I got a stretch of stunning silence for a minute. That's not good. Well, I wonder if I just hit the wrong button or something. Okay. So yeah, we'll do a full dive in on Sidekick, but I want to wait until it's a little more stable. I ask it questions all the time, and it gives me the wrong answer far too much. So yeah, I don't love it. So they redesigned the Shopify POS. They made some really dumb decisions, like they got rid of the ability to have colored tiles, which I don't understand. They've added a lot more modal kind of pop-up windows, and the app itself is quite a bit faster. Because that, we're going to be making a fairly major change to the order helper. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. Those are called teases in the business. Checkout. So there's some new changes to checkouts. There's flat rate shipping now for split shipping. So you can merge shipping things together. Major changes to the thank you and order status pages. And you can actually edit those in a lot better ways. And the faster checkout loading for your customers online. It's quite a bit faster, and you can see it like the page actually loads within a second. In terms of marketing tools, there's now the ability to create one discount that lets you do multiple things. So you can have both, for example, a shipping and percentage discount. Before, you had to create two different discount codes. On the Shopify QL thing, and again, this is something I need to do a real deep dive on. Shopify QL is basically their scripting language, which you can use to create reports. But it is smart enough to like fill out all the parts of it that you need. So you can say, I want to run a customer report on customers who have been active in the last 90 days. And it will actually generate those things. I love this thing. I know a lot of people kind of hate it, but once you kind of grok how it's structuring those queries, it's so much more powerful than just a pre-built query engine that would say, give me all customers in the last 90 days. Give me all customers in a range, because you can get right down to, I only want to see comics who are customers who are managed comics subscribers, which means they have the managed comics -active tag in the last 30 days. And they have a bunch of ready to use segmentation templates that you can use. The pick list app in shipping has really, really improved, and it's given me a bunch of ideas for managed comics pull lists to improve them. I actually have my kids do our pulls every week, and little things like having person's name on one page and then the pick list on another page is really, really irritating. So kind of merging those things together, I think, is really important. You can now use barcode scanning for inventory transfers, which is a huge change. And there's flat rate multi-location orders, which means that you can have products in multi-locations and then merge them into a single order and ship it out from a single source. In terms of operations, my favorite one here is refund to store credit. It's huge. It means you don't lose on transaction fees. So instead of giving somebody back a refund, you can just say, refund this thing to store credit, and then it goes into their purchase. I've been doing this for a year, but it's always like very manually. You have to go in and say refund, and then, you don't refund the order. You just go into their account and would give them store credit. So this is, way better. Plus, store credit is now available at the POS. That was one of the things I buried there. Development tools are huge. We have an actual development platform for the first time in Shopify, which means we can do local development. So before, if we wanted to make a change, we would make the change, we would promote it to a staging server, we would refresh that staging server, and then we would see if the change worked. And then if it didn't, we would have to bring it back locally. We would make the change. Like, it literally takes forever. With this, you can make a change and refresh the page, and it actually happens in real time. So that is hugely different and will speed up development significantly. And then Taras and I went to Shopify Editions, which was in Toronto last week. We got to see the actual new features of Horizon. So the demo I'm going to do today is based on some of the things that we learned there. We learned about Flow superpowers. So you can actually do a lot more with Flow that you couldn't do before. Flow is super amazing. I think it was Owen. No, it was Adam from Black Dragon Comics who sent me some stuff. Yeah, it was amazing. So we'll look at a couple of flows a little bit later as well. Man, there's so much. We learned about the POS app extensions. We'd heard of them, but we actually got to see them in action. So that totally changed our plan with the POS app. Honestly, we were just going to kill it. And that's because it's been really, really hard to maintain. And for us to maintain it properly, we would need to charge $50 a month for it because it needs dedicated support. So we have a new plan. We're going to actually create a public app, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And my favorite thing was watching AI fail a lot. The number of times that these guys were depending on AI to succeed and it didn't is just I'll talk about that later. I love AI, but people are over relying on AI, and you still have to have good senior leaders in place. And I'm very scared of the number of companies that are out there who are entirely relying on AI to build products. And, having done this now for 10 years, it's not the building that's the hard part, it's the support. When we talk to one of our guests a little bit later, we're going to talk about our support tickets. It's fun. So Shopify Flow, I'm gonna share the screen fully. I hope. I am muted again. That's so dumb. So when I do full media, oh my God. So I can't remove me. I can't make me smaller. Oh, this is so dumb. All right. So I won't do that again. That's really weird because you used to be able to just add the media and go full on the media. Okay, can you still hear me now? Thumbs up? Yes, okay, here we go. I'm so sorry. So yeah, they've done something about media presentation. Good times. So Shopify Flow is super powerful and it allows you to do things automatically. Craig, we're building the plane while we fly it. This is normalish rough. Yeah, it's so true. We do this all the time. So yeah, it's super powerful and it lets you do if-thens. So for example, when a product is created in my store, I can add product tags to it and then wait for 7 days and then remove those product tags. So that means that every 7 days, my new arrivals refresh on my homepage. So you can see that little thing on the, I don't know if it's your left or right, but that's a screenshot of my website. And I have newest arrivals. So when I import my products, Shopify Flow will tag each product with a new arrival tag. And then it waits 7 days and it removes that new arrival tag. And then on the front end, I have a collection that's called new arrivals. And as long as products are in that new arrivals, they show up there. I've actually segmented it so that now I have a new arrivals and a new arrivals graphic novels that shows up just underneath that. And so this one only shows comics and the one underneath it only shows graphic novels. So yeah, it's super, super, super handy to have something like this. Really, really easy to put in place. And also my graphic novels, what I've done is I'm doing them like every 30 days rather than 7, because comics are kind of like lettuce. They go out of date within 7 days. Graphic novels are a little more, you want to see the last month or two of new graphic novels that have been added. If you get stuck with a flow, you can literally ask Sidekick, who's the little superhero guy that you'll see in your top right hand corner of Shopify, and it will help you solve a lot of issues with your flows. So I've actually used it quite a bit. Sometimes it's just the syntax that you're not quite sure, or you want to know exactly where I can do a specific thing. And the most impressive thing is that now you can send out HTTP requests to other sites or services. So a good example of this would be, let's say that we were to have let's say that Managed Comics decided to create a public Geek Fetch new releases page, which I'm not saying might or might not happen in the relatively near future. You could query that new releases page and then ask it to find any products with, let's say, the UPC code in your website and tag those with the same thing. So, with new releases or whatever. So, it lets you kind of use external sources within your Shopify. That's super, super powerful. Yeah. So that's all of that good stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about multi-location, but before I do, I'm going to introduce our other Managed Comics front-facing person who solves a lot of data problems. Max, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Hoping not to lose everybody's voice when I when I try and change something again in the future. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about multi-location, because you've been doing all the testing on it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing very limited testing, but the stuff I'm doing is the stuff that seems to be the most broken. So that's not great. Your stuff seems to be all working.
I mean, yeah, it's most of the problems seem like they're mostly surface level, quick to fix and, push out. But for the most part, it's pretty close to ready, I think. Just one of those things that there's a million problems to check with one way and another. So making sure we grab it all as one thing. But
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the issues that I'm working on with Dross is this whole location settings part. It's a little unintuitive right now, and it's one thing to build a spec, and it's another thing that when you have that thing in front of you, it totally changes your kind of perceptions of it, and you find, oh, this doesn't make nearly as much sense. Adding a location, and more importantly, removing a location, is really, really hard right now. So I'm working with Tross on kind of the flow of that and making that work a little bit better. But yeah, by and large, there haven't been too many big, huge problems. But this is one of those things where this literally affects everyone. It affects multi-store and single store, because we have touched every single piece of code in the application. So every single story had a multi-store and a single store location story. And so we basically ended up rewriting the entire app from scratch, which means we have to test check-ins. We have to test invoicing. We have to test checking out somebody, all that stuff, and make sure that everything flows through completely well. So yeah. And then in the last 3 months, we've made a bunch of Shopify changes, because Shopify has changed some like underground structural things, and we have to make sure that we've merged those back from production into dev. So yeah, that's exactly what it's called, regression testing. Yeah. So it's just really tedious, and it takes a lot of time. So the big question is always, when will this launch? And Kyle from Galactic Quest sent me a text on the weekend with an image from the last time. Let me just say that launching this application is literally like building the plane while we fly it. It is so hard. And the windows we have, after I made this slide, I realized that last window, the 27th and 28th, probably doesn't exist, because that's initial orders. And for some reason, like 90% of the comics industry waits until the Friday before and this calendar is wrong. It goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Our launches are Thursday, Friday. Oh my God, I didn't even notice that till just now. So our windows are Thursday the 12th or the 13th, Thursday the 19th or the 20th, and Thursday the 26th or the 27th. We will probably not do the 26th or 27th because I imagine 90% of our users will still be doing initial orders. Why we're still doing initial orders in 2025, I'm not sure, but okay. So we probably won't do the 26th, 27th, but I'm thinking it's going to be either the 12th, 13th, or 19th and 20th. And it really depends on how much of that location stuff, the initial kind of setup, and also kind of the streamlining of it we can get done. But yeah, we all do it. No use hiding it. It's the worst practice. I do mine so early. And I do FOCs initially on Saturday, and then I check them on Sundays. And because having developed software as long as I have, I will never guarantee that any system in the chain is going to be up on a Sunday night at 11 o'clock. And good luck finding somebody to fix it when it's not up. So yeah, Max, let's talk a little bit about, I have to pull this one off. Let's talk a little bit about support tickets. You've been seeing support. So like I said, there's a bunch of people out there building AI powered versions of ComicSuite and things. The art is not in building a thing. Building a thing is easy. Supporting that thing long term is the hard part. On an average day, on a good day, I would say we get 5 support tickets. On a bad day, we probably get 30 or 40.
It's very obvious if there's a problem.
Yeah, we know before you do usually. Yeah. And like I would say our biggest thing is data changes. It's probably like 5-1 data to actual issues. And the vast majority of support tickets we get that are not data related are like, I don't know how to do a thing. And so we just send, the knowledge base article for that, which is really where our little chat bot comes in handy, because that thing is trained on 7,000 support requests and our entire knowledge base. So if you ask it like an English question, like, how do I import a product with a CSV? It will actually give you your answer like 95% of the time very good. And what's really cool is that we see all those answers on the back end and we can tweak the response it gives. So over time, that thing's just getting smarter and smarter. And it answers in real time. So you may have to wait 5 minutes to 5 hours if you send a human a request, but that little guy is working all the time. So I highly recommend checking him out. What are some of the fun requests we get?
I think it's just whack-a-mole that changes every week. It's like it's not standard. So, for 1 month, Marvel will forget to include the pound sign for all their issue numbers, and we've got to manually go in and change all that. And then 2 months later, it's fixed. Or today we had one where Lunar, for some reason, included free in the title of a couple variants, and that's confusing for a customer who thinks they're getting a free book if they order enough. And the the data problems just change every month, and there's no consistency one way or the other. One of my favorites is that Dynamite gets input as dynamic forces, and a bunch of those pre-order CGCs get pop up as subscribe options, and that's still ongoing. And someone along the line is just starting to type DY and doesn't fix the autocomplete as it finishes.
Yeah, I mean, there's big problems in data across the board, and some of it is really exposing how much Diamond did back in the day. A good example is like Diamond always had these things called brand managers, and a brand manager literally would have a few brands that they were following up with people from that company for both solicitation information and data. There are no brand managers at, not the equivalent at Lunar or Penguin Random House. There are still people that are doing some of that work, but they're not nearly as embedded as they were. And honestly, neither one of them really has the police mentality that Diamond did. Like, Diamond legit would not list your stuff if the data wasn't right.
Yeah, I think the kind of thing that we've noticed more lately has been the big stuff is less often a problem. Like
Yeah.
Marvel and DC haven't really been too problematic lately. And if they are, they're kind of just a few one-offs that we can go in and hammer down, and it's not a big problem. The stuff that
DC
actually
still has
breaks
a
are the
problem with
more,
the alphabet. They still
yeah.
miss alphabet covers, and you get a C as a B all the time. But
Yeah, the big problem is
yeah,
the
it's
indie developers who don't really know exactly what they're doing, and they'll repeat barcodes that they used for a 5-issue series 5 years ago, and it totally breaks because
American
who thought
Mythology
anyone would
Productions.
do
I
that?
mean, yeah, we're not supposed to like name and shame, but American Mythology Productions does this all the time, and I've reached out to them countless times, and they just don't respond. And honestly, at this point, if their listings are screwed up, like, that's on them. I can't make a exception to do not repeat your barcode, because it's literally the first commandment in Comet. And actually, we're about to create, and I don't want to make it blasphemous, so we got to figure out a better alliteration. I just love the alliteration of Comet commandments. But we're going to create the list of 10 immutable laws that you cannot break. Primary among those is do not repeat a UPC code, followed only secondly by do not repeat an issue sequence number. How many zeros do we have to replace?
Yeah.
Whenever somebody says all Archie and Veronica is only showing the 1 in 10 variant, that's because all of them have an issue sequence number of 0, which means it's the A cover. Or conversely, you don't have an A cover. Let's say that you're a company that creates bundles and decides to make your bundle the A cover. You're going to have a bad time, because we flag all bundles as retailer sales tools, because you don't want a customer, you, the shop, don't want a customer ordering 50 copies of a comic for $12.99 net cost. That's a real bad time for you. So we flag those as retailer sales tools, because that's what they are. And if they make it an A cover, that means their whole product doesn't show up. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, and
Don't do
those
things that are dumb.
most of those issues are the kind of thing that, I mean, no AI is going to figure out how to find those. So we're kind of finding themselves with our
Yeah.
own internal tools, and also often relying on people to let us know when something's broken, because you come across a thing that across all the stores that use managed comics, there's maybe 10 subscribers for some of these
Exactly.
books, you know? And
Exactly.
so unless we come across it doing FOC ourselves, we're not going to find those issues.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty nutty sometimes. Pretty nutty. Do you want to play a little bit with Horizon with me?
Sure.
Let's I didn't actually share a screen, which is gonna be important. I wonder if I should maybe we should jump to, actually, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna put you on hold for a second. And then I'm going to talk to our other special guest, and then we're going to come back and do, yeah, that's what we'll do. Yes, let's do
Cool.
that.
All right.
I'm
See you
going
soon.
to pop off with you in a second. All right. So I have another special guest. We have a partnership with SortSwift, and they are a point of sale system for TCG stores. So if you're a games hybrid store that sells games and comics, and you rely on TCGs, and you need pricing and all that good stuff, and maybe you were a Binder Paws customer at one point because you heard about how Binder Paws and Managed Comics were going to integrate, and they never did, because Binder Paws got bought by eBay as soon as our thing happened, and they disappeared from us. So I'm going to introduce you right now to Micah. Micah,
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you
So
for having me.
Micah is the person behind SortSwift, which is a TCG point of sale system, and they can find it at sortswift.com. And you've been working on integration points with us, and there's really only 2 we require, so it's a pretty simple integration.
It's not too hard.
So we need to have draft orders available from Shopify into the point of sale, and then the only other thing is like bringing products that we import over to you, and then you become the source of truth for them. And that was it.
Wasn't too hard to integrate either. So
Weird,
once we started talking, we just started doing it. So I mean, that's how we work. Is we see an issue, somebody needs something, and we'll make it happen.
That's awesome. I was going to do a big demo. I've got like a 20-minute video that Micah and I worked on last week or the week before. I don't know. Time's a flat circle. And I really wanted to do it. But as I was timing this episode out, I was like, oh no, I've got 40, 50 minutes worth of stuff to talk about in a 30-minute span. And we're already going to go an hour with this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to dedicate a full episode. Hopefully you're available June 19th.
I'll be available.
If you're not, I can fake it. So
we'll be available
on June 19th, we'll do a full demo. I've got a nice little video that we can run through because I refuse to do product demos on live anymore since they always fail. It's like, if you want to take your system down, have about 50 people on a live demo and then click on a page, and that will guarantee to take your system down every time. So
every time I try to demo one-on-one too.
Right. We'll do a canned demo, and then we'll come back and kind of talk live. But if you want to talk to Micah, if you go to sortswift.com right now, and we'll pull that up on the stage. Oh, I got to unpull and then pull. If you click on this little guy right here and say, hi, Micah, you will get a response back ridiculously fast. And I know this because that's how I originally made contact with Micah. so he's always there. Go chat with him. And we'll see him in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, honestly, go check out sortswift.com and tell him Managed Comics sent you. Thanks, Micah. We'll talk to you again.
We'll talk to you soon. We've got a bunch to show. There's not enough time to fit in it, even in a 30-minute. So
we'll go an hour.
Probably needed.
Thanks, Micah. We'll see you soon.
You.
Okay. All right. Let me pop back to where I was, and we're gonna pull this guy up. And I'm going to bring Max in. So, Max, have you had a chance to play with Horizon at all?
The tiniest little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it's very clean. There's a bunch of new things that you can create. So you can use all these different kind of lists and things. The one I really had fun with the other day it's a collection, and it's called Bento. This one's really cool. So you can pull in a bunch of different collections into this. So let's say I want to pull in my Ahoy comics and my they'll do comics, and my Daniel Warren Johnson, and maybe my Dark Horse. And you can add up to 21 collections to this, and they're just really nice looking. They by default bring in the most recent comic or however your collections are set. Most people set them by default to best selling. But you can change it. And then if you have individual images on each one of your collections, that's what it would bring in. So if you had logos for all the companies, maybe the Ahoy logo would show up here. It's really, really, and you can see how quick that is to build.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm assuming it auto updates when the collection updates, right? Like new releases, if you have the newest new release.
Yeah. And I'll show you my kind of finished one a little bit later. And then if you also want to add how do I do this? Oh yeah, I just need this guy. So open up Sidekick and say, create a 2-column layout with, an image on the right side and text on the left side. And he will now, I shouldn't anthropomorphize them like that. Although when they eventually come to take our lives, I think they'll look on me fondly because I've always called them he's and she's.
Say your pleases and thank yous.
So it's gonna actually create a 2-column layout here, and let's go with a magazine style 2-column layout. So it's gonna actually do this in the background. And what's really cool is that it's actually generating code, and the code it's generating is basically the code that I would write if I was writing code for this, and then it'll generate it, and then it'll go back and it will refine that code a little bit and kind of shrink it down, and then it will actually create a block. So that's a reusable element that you can use multiple times, and it'll be called like magazine element or something like that. So it's really, really neat, like that it's doing stuff that used to take me a couple hours, and it's not useful hours. They're hours of like just writing the same crap code over and over again. And it'll do it all very, very quickly. And it builds all of the kind of customization elements into it as well. So yeah, it's super
That's
cool.
interesting. Does it work with non-Shopify themes as well? I haven't touched the AI very much at all.
In terms of themes, this will only work with Horizon right now, as far as I know.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's because they have kind of full, full stack integration with it. So yeah, it's. I think it might kind of damage the theme business. But honestly, like for the last little while, for the last couple of years at least, Dawn has been good enough that you could super customize it however you want. So it created that thing. And now I can go in there and I can, oh, look at this. It even created it with different. So if I get rid of this guy over here, it created it with different types of things. And then we can give it follow-up instructions. Like we can tell it, maybe we would tell it that the layout doesn't appear to be working. And it will tell us why the layout isn't working. And it may even like have to edit the layout so that it works. Everything is dynamic. So like I can put in dynamic text here. I could even say like, this is actually horror title, and we'll use the horror image.
It's very interesting. When I started my shop on Shopify, I paid for a premium theme because my software developer wife was getting sick of doing the little customizations that I wanted. So I had to find something that I needed. And for things like, huge collections or being able to really zoom in on a collectible, that's pretty impressive. I think, it's pretty cool to be able to do that without knowing any code yourself.
Yeah, it's amazing. And if you know the code, you can get in and edit this stuff. And then you can also, like I said, ask it follow-up things. So I'm going to show you a couple things that I did. And yeah, Jason at Stronghold Collectibles, I just tried for 10 minutes to change the menu text color on the header and asked Sidekick to do it, and it just did it. Yeah, that's the most amazing thing. Also asked what's the best sub theme for large categories. I'm going to take a look at that because I don't remember what the name is, but there's definitely one. I think it's in my. I'm going to have to just go back here because I saved it to look at later. It's called Trade. So this is one of their new. So everything is built off of Horizon. Actually, I'm not sure. That might be built off of Dawn. I think it is. Horizon has like 14 sub themes. So if you go into the, how do I do this? I go into the Visit Theme Store. And then, okay, here it is. So I can view all of these. So from here, I don't remember which one it was, but there was one of them that is meant for large, and it might be. can't remember. It might be Tinker.
I get the impression that these are more bare bones from the get-go, but having the ability to customize it yourself makes it
for sure
better if you're willing to put the work in.
Yeah, for sure. And you can put the work in by just asking it to do things. But I'm going to show you how clean this can be right now. Anna said, is this a separate app? So these are themes that are within Shopify. So Shopify is kind of the front end of the website. Manage Comics is an app within Shopify that lets you manage your comics, oddly enough, and allows your customers to subscribe. Anna's currently a ComicSuite user. So a lot of this kind of front end stuff is a little new to a lot of ComicSuite users. So this is my Earth 519 store. And I've actually pretty much finished my theme. I've got a couple of like inner pages to wrap up, but this front page, and this was me learning how to use it, probably took 30 minutes to build. Now I've done this stuff before, so it may take a little longer, but it was not hard. The hardest thing was like figuring out what I was going to add on it and how all the new blocks worked. But
how many of these were custom that you made?
This is the only one. So I asked it to build me it doesn't have a 2-post blog thing by default. So I just asked it to build one. Magazine style, editorial layout. Please write liquid code that will bring the 2 most recent blog posts from the Earth 519 blog -news. Add a button beneath it to read all posts. So that was like 2 or 3 different commands. The first thing was just build me a magazine style blog post, and then it was telling it where the blog was, and then the all posts. And it took it like roughly as long as it took to build that other thing. And I was pretty happy with it. It's got a lot of configurations. I can change background colors and stuff really, really easily. One thing I don't love is that they, by default, aren't including your brand colors, which makes me go a little crazy. But yeah, mostly this is pretty darn cool.
Yeah, that's very neat.
And then within like if you want, I forgot about one of my favorite things. So this is my new arrivals section, right? But it gets really, really hard to tell which one is new arrivals and which one is graphic novels. And sometimes you'll do things to the wrong one. So now you can click on these three little dots over here, and you can rename this. So I can say
that's such a simple change. That makes
right?
so much sense.
So now over here, this is organized way better. And I'll call this one new TPVs. And it just cleans things up. So it makes it way, way easier. Because like on my current theme, I have 5 or 6 different slideshows. I have 3 or 4 different product list things. So this just makes it easier to find all that stuff. If you Google for a Shopify store with large catalog, Dwell and Vessel are often recommended. So the only problem with that right now is that those are going to be Dawn themes, which are fine. There's nothing wrong with a Dawn theme. But if you're going to take the time to build a theme, I think you should probably work on one of the newer ones. Just because, so Dwell, I guess, is a Horizon one. And Vessel is, okay, yeah, they're both Horizon. Yeah, check them all out. You can play with them because you can install them, configure them, bring in your own data, and see which one works for you.
I'm assuming it's more or less what it looks like with any other theme, but can you show how Manage Comics looks on it? How the subscriptions page?
I don't know if I can. I haven't tried to. I'll add the embed code. I haven't edited any of this. Oh, I'm not going to be able to, I don't think, because I really don't want to publish this on my live site. I wonder if I could publish it on, and I haven't configured Bob's enough to do it, but I wonder if preview will work. This may not work. We'll see. Yeah, it does work. So it needs some configuration, but this is really, really easy to configure as well. In the actual theme, if I go into the customize, and I believe I've already created a page, a dedicated page. MC2 subscriptions page, I believe. Yeah. No, that's my. Oh, yeah. It wouldn't matter. Yeah, I can't show it. The reason is because on the you define which page it uses. So right now it's just using the default. So actually, if I were to go into the default, and you guys are getting to see how the sausage is made here. And if I just add I want to add a custom liquid, and I'll just add my little div here. So this overrides where managed comics will be seen. And now this should work. Yeah, and it puts it into the kind of outside. So it looks pretty much the same as it does on my live site. Yeah, it's so easy. I think we'll probably build a default page going forward that'll be called like managed comics or something like that, or we'll probably have to name it something silly that you'll be able to just use as a definition so that you don't end up with that narrow thing. That's one of the default page settings that you get when you install any theme. So you kind of have to override that a little bit, but it's really, really easy to override now. It's bugging me, so I'm going to just fix it because I'm that kind of nerd, and save it. And that should tighten up things up there. And then I would tighten up my header and stuff like that, but all those things are really, really easy to do. You just literally go into your hero, and I'm going to say, like, make it the small size. And it'll tighten the size of that up. That is small already. Doesn't seem small. Yeah, so that's Horizon in a nutshell.
Looks like a lot of nice benefits. The AI integration is interesting, that it's just gives you the option of having someone working for you that knows what they're doing, but don't trust them to, take on everything by themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm interested in seeing where some of this AI stuff goes, because I know in the future it'll just get smarter. But the real challenge is making sure that we don't over rely on it. It's kind of like anything, right? Like over reliance on it will just. I heard it described really, really well that AI is like a brilliant doctoral student. So you've got somebody who's read every single book, but they don't have the life lessons to actually implement what's right or what's wrong. So they'll say, do this because this is what the books say. But you as a human know, okay, that's true. But when you do that, maybe you're missing out on, these 3 opportunities, or maybe it doesn't scale or whatever it is. So yeah, I like AI, but I'm a little leery of it.
Being able to tell when it's just trying to tell you what you want to hear is one thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Figure out when it's lying to you.
Yeah. Max, thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I got about 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, it's already 4 o'clock. I got to jump into my webinar. I'm gonna wrap this guy up real quick and go through my last slides. But yeah, thanks for coming by.
Yeah,
this won't be the last time.
Nice chatting with you.
Thanks, bud.
All right, see you.
That was Max. Good guy. He's saving all your data problems. All right. Last couple things. So the managed comics order helper is retiring soon. There's a lot of problems with it right now. And a lot of them are basically of our own making. We did things the way that we thought we should do them, and we over rely on managed comics. So we're going to be changing the process of how you do things. Part of it will be suggesting you create draft orders after every pull. You can pile up draft orders. But then we're relying now on Shopify's draft order system instead of relying on Managed Comics and stuff. That also means that you're not flipping things in and out of a draft order state, which is really, really tough in terms of reservations. So if you're flipping things in and out of reservations, and for some reason the network connection drops, you can get products out of sync. When you're doing a reservation to a draft order, it's all staying on within the same kind of ecosystem. So it's way, way easier, harder for things to get out of sync. Earth 519, my store, I don't use the POS at all. So I very rarely see things get out of sync. It does happen occasionally. It's usually my own fault because I've moved something in and out of a draft order for some dumb reason. So yeah, the state of Shopify has changed. So we're going to rebuild a draft order helper within the Shopify POS that will be a modal window that will come up. We're also going to offer it as a public app, which means that we'll be able to charge $10 a month for it. We'll give a coupon to Managed Comics people, but that's going to help us to be able to afford to support the thing. Right now, honestly, it would cost us $50 a month minimum to build it and have it supported, but we can do stuff to let other people use it, because draft orders for POS is just a problem everyone has. And when we walked through our stuff with Shopify, they were like, yeah, that should be an app. So there you go. It would allow you to import the entire draft, and all in bold, just the stuff a customer wants to buy. Don't pull stuff into the cart and then pull it back out and pull it in and pull it out. That is just asking for trouble, because every time you do that, you have to do an order adjustment. And I don't care which system it is. That's just, yeah, it's just so problematic. And I understand that customers change their mind, but I don't know. Just be mean to them. I don't know. The number of times that I tell a customer, like, I'm not your bank. Sometimes you just gotta, right? And this is a case where it's just like, that becomes a real hassle, and it's really, really hard for the system to keep up with it. If they come back to the cache and put stuff back, it's going to cause you a bit of a pain to make sure you put it back in a Managed Comics hold, but there is going to be a process. And it's just like one button you'll click, because it'll know anything that didn't get closed out in that transaction, and it'll say, would you like to add all those things back to the pool? Right now, so I'm going to release in the next couple of days a document on like the new process that we're recommending for draft orders. I've been doing this now for a couple months, just testing it out. Works very, very seamlessly. So we will recommend the Bento SMB draft orders for POS. A lot of people are using it right now. It's $15 a month, supported by a team of developers. They're very responsive. I know it's got 2 stars or 2.5 stars, but if you look at the reviews, they're from like 2 years ago. And I personally know how hard it is to get people to review a product. I have to beg for them every like 6 months, just so that we don't have stale old reviews. But definitely take a look at draft orders. I think it's a better solution than the Managed Comics order helper right now. And that's just because it's doing things in a more sensible way. But you're probably going to want to wait until I write the doc that says what the new process is. Yeah, we talked about POS SortSwift, so come join us on June 19th. Next week, we're going to do a pre-recorded Meanwhile, and I don't remember what it's about, but I have it on my calendar to do. So we'll do that. Real quick, the roadmap. So our number one priority is obviously multi-location. If you've got questions or things that bug you right now, go to roadmap.managedcomics.com/ideas and add those things. We'll also be hardening and improving our servers. We want to improve our uptime. So 2 nights ago, you see a red line that happened at 1 o'clock or 11:30 at night. Tross and I were online for like 45 minutes solving it. Turns out our load balancer got overloaded, which I didn't even think was a thing. So now we have to have redundant load balancers, which again, problem I never thought I'd have to deal with. So yeah, we've got a plan to build redundant load balancers in the next couple of weeks. Somebody decided at 11 o'clock at night to do a massive crawl and they sent like 4 different spiders at our site. So there was an attack and just said, nope, shutting down. And then it was like 20 minutes before I realized that everything was down. And then I had to get a hold of Tross, and then we spent 40 minutes like understanding why it happened. So this will hopefully help that not happen in the future, because when that guy went down, the next guy would come back up. We also need to do some hardening to make sure that denial of service to attacks like that can't happen. So I don't think it was malicious. I think it was just somebody was crawling all of our stuff for some reason. And they were probably crawling a specific website. I've seen that happen. I know who one of those people is. I've already yelled at them. Check out The Future Is, which is on sale right now for our Managed Comics ad. If you were to, in theory, click on the red one with your phone and you ask for a Subscribotron, it might make Craig have to draw one for you. That'd be terrible if we saw 24 of those get created. Wouldn't be terrible. I'd love it. Any questions? I'm going to ask questions while I tell you other places you can find me. Every Tuesday on Comic Industry Insiders Live, which is at youtube.com/@PranaDMS. We're not 9 episodes in. We are 16 episodes in now. And those 2 things are lies, because this is from the last time I did this. The next one, I don't know. We'll actually find out tomorrow what it's going to be about, because we have our weekly meeting on Fridays to figure out what we're going to talk about. I want to talk about the street team. Oh my God, that's so true. Everything related to this industry is a problem I never thought I'd have to deal with. Yeah. The Data Bros is a podcast I do with Django and Jeff from Comic Shop Assistant. It's a weekly podcast series. We're reposting our most recent Comics Industry Insiders Live Take Brover episodes. There's 2 of them. So the next one will drop this Friday at 3 p.m.-ish. Probably earlier than that this week, because I'm going to a concert on Friday. Find more about that at databrosinc.com. And come check our now weekly webinars. They're every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, except for weeks like this where we are talking at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, it's 30 minutes. You can have your questions answered. You can see a demo. We send out the demo beforehand, because nothing bores me more than doing the same demo over and over again. So we don't do that anymore. It's also really hard to do a demo, because you have to have all the files to check in, and you can only check in a file once, because it's not going to repull Absolute Batman. So demos are hard. I also like jump around in a demo. So with these, it's like you ask a specific question and we can go over that thing, rather than me spending 30 minutes boring you and me both with a demo that you can watch on your own in 22 minutes, which is more structured and actually make sure you get everything. So you can see those at managedcomics.com/webinar. And that's going to do it. Christina says, the only problem I've seen with Bento is not being able to choose just a few items from the draft order. I thought you can choose just like individual items. If you can't, you will be able to with our draft order chooser. But yeah, I always thought you could just choose a few. But all right. That does suck. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week. If you have any questions, shoot us an email to help@managedcomics.com. You'll hear back from me or Max pretty quickly. And yeah, thanks for your time, everyone. We went a little over, but we talked about a lot of really cool stuff. So we will see you in a week. And then join us back on the 19th for the SortSwift demo, which I think is going to be really, really fun. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye-bye. Oh, no. Now I have to select an outro video. All right. There we go. Now let's try.